The National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, better known as NASCAR, ran its first race in 1948. Most of the 36 annual races take place at speedways, but this is the second of at least 3 annual street races here in downtown Chicago, Illinois. The organization doesn't publish attendance figures, but they expect about 50,000 race fans, more than half of which are new to NASCAR, just like me. I must confess, I did not come to watch 16 teams in gas-powered vehicles lap the 2.2-mile circuit or the bands on the Lollapalooza stage in Grant Park. I'm here for the EVs. I was invited to Chicago by ABB, a global Fortune 500 company headquartered in Switzerland, which contributes to dozens of industries. You might recognize their name from DC fast charging hardware or the Formula E Global All-Electric Open Wheel Racing Series. We'll learn more about them soon, but today's big news is that they've joined forces with NASCAR to help them go electric in more ways than one. Now, all these seats are going to be filled with media, and soon they're going to be pulling the cover on this ABB all-electric number 35 NASCAR. And ABB invited me here to get all the details on it. Will it have its own series? How far is it going to be able to go on the track? We're going to find out. After a brief explainer video, kids from the Boys and Girls Club removed the veil and leaders from ABB and NASCAR offered a few remarks.
We are looking at a car here that has over 1,000 kilowatts of power, so that's over 1,300 horsepower, 78 kilowatt hours of power, or of battery. So it will run for a considerable amount of time. So it's got a flax seat body on it. So these are all lessons that we're learning as we go through it. I can't say we're sitting here today saying we're going to introduce a series, but I can say that we are here, and I use my automaker friends here as an example. We're built a prototype car. This ABB NASCAR EV prototype was built to go out and demonstrate what this technology is capable of, and we look forward to hearing from our fans on what they'd like to see out of it. So, we're here for the journey.
So if you think about it, it's easy to think about transportation, but it's much bigger than that. We see this partnership as really getting the word out. We need more engineers. We need more skilled electricians. And I see NASCAR as being able to engage and inspire the children, much like the ones that pulled the sheet off the car today, to have a passion for STEM and really get America prepared for the electrification of everything and a clean energy future.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but a butterfly just landed on our sustainability officer's microphone. I think that's a pretty good omen for what we're doing here.
All right, I am here with Ralph, who is the EVP at ABB. Now, Ralph, this is a super exciting development to see an EV prototype come to life. Can you talk a little bit about how this partnership has developed from ABB and NASCAR to come to fruition in this EV prototype?
Absolutely. So we started about a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, first meeting with NASCAR at the very end of January of 2023. Excited to hear about what they were doing, their sustainability focus and their EV focus, and it fit right in with what we're doing with ABB. So we pretty much matured the partnership over about a year, and it came to fruition at the very top of this year. Very excited to be a part of it, and I think the rollout's been fantastic, and we are excited to be their premier partner for this new race series when it gets launched.
Oh, I saw a wink there. When it gets launched, let's see if that really happens. I would be very excited about that. There's no doubt about it, because I think there's opportunity there. But ABB also has some experience in motorsport. So can you talk a little bit about the other series that you're involved with?
Yes, absolutely. So I think everything we learned with Formula E, we can take and immediately put it inside this NASCAR. So not just the car itself, of our products that can go inside there and some of our technologies, but the ecosystem that goes around it, whether it be the EV charger, whether it be the robots we do, or the components like our T&B tie wraps that we do that actually are inside the facilities that build these things. So it's not just the car itself, the entire ecosystem, partnering with the OEMs, which we're already doing right now at some of their manufacturing facilities, partnering with NASCAR on the car, and then the charger. So everything that goes along with it, phenomenal. I think we can add a lot of value to our new partner, NASCAR.
Thank you for spending some time with us, Ralph. It was great to learn more about what ABB is doing here. So we look forward to, hopefully, as you were winking earlier, a series coming to life.
Very good.
All right, I'm really looking forward to talking to the vehicle systems engineer here, CJ, who's going to give us a little bit more insight about the guts of this vehicle. So why don't we start right off on the front, which we have a nice peek into under the hood.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, and we're super excited to talk about what we've done with our OEM partners, Toyota, Ford, and GM. So this car is based off of our next-gen car that you'll see racing around the track any Sunday. What we have here is a modular front clip. The rear clip is integrated, unlike the next-gen car where it's a modular rear clip as well. The reason why we did that was for motor packaging, gearbox packaging, all of that. So if we look inside the hood, what you'll see right off the bat is there's no engine that you would see in a Cup car. But what you do see is a single speed gearbox. So there's two gearboxes. The exact same gearbox is in the front, is also in the rear. We also have our motor with our HV cables going in, denoted by the orange wires. We have a single motor up front, two motors in the rear. This is an all-wheel drive vehicle, which is something, again, us at NASCAR aren't used to working with our rear-wheel drive cars. But for the most part, the heart of this car is the next-gen chassis. So if we look at the suspension components, the front suspension is identical to a next-gen car. We both have oval setups and road course control arms. As far as the water cooler as well, this is based off of the next-gen water cooler, also our inlet duct. Really cool thing on this body is instead of the carbon body that we run on the next gen, this is a flaxseed sustainable body. What you'll see on here, instead of coring, they have power rib. The power rib structure is, or the power rib is what actually gives the bodywork structure.
We obviously know that carbon fiber is not only lightweight, but it's extremely strong. So can you talk about the properties of that flax and how is the strength in comparison?
So strength is comparable to carbon with the power ribbing. They also have the ability to put coring inside it. It's really nice to work with whenever you're in the shop. You can always tell someone's cutting on it because it smells like a wood shop. So that's a big difference than working with carbon.
One other thing is that, the performance on this is pretty amazing considering the Cup Series cars run at up to 670 horsepower. And this thing outputs over 1,300 horsepower. So can you talk a little bit about the performance elements and how long this will run?
You can't run it 30 laps or around, Chicago at peak power just because you're going to drain your battery. So we've messed around and with regen strategies and different things like that, which has been different for us. It's also been different for David Ragan, who's been our test driver throughout this event, kind of relearning what that looks like in terms of battery savings, battery management.
How do you think the fans are going to respond to something like this?
I think our fans will be excited because we're pushing technology and we're trying to show them what we can do here at NASCAR, but also what our OEMs are doing in their production cars and everything in between.
Well, it's been a treat talking to you, CJ. So thanks for spending some time with us. And we hope a series will come out of this eventually. So stay tuned. But thanks for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
The three automakers involved with NASCAR are Ford, Toyota, and General Motors. Officially, each is claiming involvement with number 35. I managed to catch up with representatives from each to find out what this project could mean for them. All right, I am here with Eric, who is in charge of the motorsports division at Chevy Racing. Now, Eric, this is a really exciting announcement to have electrification finally come to NASCAR, but what do you think that the type of announcement this means to motorsport as a whole?
I just think it shows the importance of the racing platform for the OEMs. We race worldwide, and anytime we get a chance to look at innovation and new technologies, each race series provides a different unique opportunity, different type of cars, different type of platform. And so we work with the series and the sanctioning bodies to constantly push that innovation. Motorsports excites our fans and hopefully can educate them and get them more interested in EV vehicles.
Do you see that the people that watch NASCAR are going to be accepting of this?
A race fan loves performance. Yeah. And then for anyone who's ever driven an EV, the first time I drove an EV, just the instant torque and the instant acceleration is something that not only you feel, but as a fan, you see it. And as you start to see it and you see the different applications of it, it's a different form of racing. It's a different type of performance and something, as you're accelerating onto a highway or maneuvering through traffic and what you think about owning a performance vehicle for, this is going to be a great demonstrator to really show. And I think we're going to bring a lot of fans into NASCAR that maybe weren't looking at NASCAR, but as they look at electrification technology, become excited about it, we're going to draw new fans in and also hopefully convert some avid current fans as well.
So what do you think, as far as the innovation goes, that means for you as an OEM?
The environment of how you deploy the energy and how fast to charge, the amount of power that's going in and out of batteries has direct transfer into our production vehicles. And as we look at charging faster and charging infrastructure, racing is a great crucible to develop those technologies and kind of demonstrate to fans and also learn and help us advance our engineers inside our company to develop our cars better.
I think it's an amazing opportunity to expand electrification even more, and I'm glad that you guys are a part of it. But thank you for spending some time with us today, Eric, and we look forward to seeing this develop even more.
No, it's great. We're excited about it. Thanks.
I'm with David Wilson. He is the president of Toyota Racing. What is your take on electrification coming to this series in particular?
Well, I don't think you can go anywhere without addressing electrification and the issue of carbon. So I'm super proud that our sport and all of the OEMs that are engaged in our sport, focused on this together to advance our learnings, around electrification. It's a very dynamic time frame right now, and Toyota's perspective, of course, is that the enemy, first and foremost, is carbon. Our objective is to reduce as much carbon as soon as possible, and so this is an exercise to see what is possible, and ultimately we'd like to get some feedback from the fans. The challenging aspect is to not forget that motorsports is a byproduct of the entertainment industry, right? And ultimately, we need our fans to embrace electrification at the same time. And that's why it's not just about the car; it's about the infrastructure. When we go to a city, the carbon footprint that we leave, and how do we reduce it as an industry? So it's really a holistic consideration that we're working towards.
And we know that there are other series like trucks and the Xfinity series that are slightly different from the Cup series. But we see here in this prototype, this is more of like a CUV, a crossover utility vehicle. And obviously you sell a crossover utility vehicle EV. So do you think that the people that are viewing this are going to respond well to it?
Well, we collectively, Ford, Chevrolet, Toyota, and NASCAR, we were like, listen, we sell a lot of CUVs. SUVs. It's an important part of our market, and it keeps growing. So why don't we mix it up, and why don't we build this prototype with a CUV body? I wouldn't be surprised down the road if we take the Xfinity series, for example, and consider racing that with some sort of a CUV body versus a sedan, and then you have the three distinct visual platforms from truck to CUV to a sedan. And so I think this is, we're being very intentional about it. We're trying to gauge the reaction from the fans. Like what do they think? Is this something they could get excited about? I think so.
I think so too. Well, thank you for spending some time with us, David. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing this develop even more.
Thanks for having me. Enjoyed.
Now I'm here with Pat, who's in charge of NASCAR for Ford. So this has got to be a really interesting development for you when we're talking about electrification coming into this motorsport series. How does this impact your role directly?
If you go and look in our display here, we have our Super Truck, F-150 Lightning Super Truck, which just won Pikes Peak overall 2 weeks ago. So we've been on this journey for about 3 years, where we've taken the Mach-E 1400 was our first vehicle that came out. We've done drag racing, Super Cobra Jet 1800, which just set a NHRA record of 7.7 seconds, 180 miles an hour. Drifters, we have dragsters, we have the Super Truck, and this just adds to our portfolio of demonstrators. It gives us the opportunity to showcase what a stock electrified stock car can do on the racetrack for our fans.
Would you like to see more competition in this space? Because I feel like this may be a good opportunity for NASCAR to bring in other OEMs to compete.
Yeah, we would love for more OEMs to come to the sport, and if this is a catalyst for them to come in, that's great. Ultimately, Sunday's the big prize for the Cup Series, so getting another OEM in, however it is with NASCAR, is a good thing for the whole sport.
Do you foresee that there will be an electric series that comes to NASCAR eventually?
Never say never. I mean, it's an interesting idea, and if every one of the fans here in Chicago say, hey, next year we want to see an EV series on the racetrack, if there's a business case for it and the collaboration, then who knows? But right now, there's no plans to put a series together on the racetrack.
Thanks for spending some time with us today, Pat. It was great to talk to you, and we hope to see more come out of this project. Well, I'm here with Mike from ABB, and it's exciting to talk to you, Mike, because I want to learn a little bit more about what ABB's development was in this project, because this is huge for NASCAR, isn't it?
Our involvement has been the first step is to help NASCAR get to net zero and sustainability. And a broader piece is really NASCAR provides an ideal platform to talk about the energy transition.
So obviously we know all about ABB because we had visited the Formula E race in Portland last year, but I feel like maybe some viewers don't understand the breadth of what ABB offers. So can you touch on that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. ABB is a global leader in electrification and automation. We have a significant footprint in the U.S. We have 40 manufacturing locations and close to 19,000 employees. But to describe what we do, it's everything from the source, meaning the power plant at a utility, all the way to consumption in your house. And EV charging is a big piece of that, but even more so is the infrastructure required to support those fast chargers.
They are going to also be deploying EV chargers and things of that nature. So will you be involved on that front when we're talking about circuits getting those installed?
Absolutely. I'll give an example of one of our plants. So one of our plants in Senatobia, Mississippi, gets their power provided by a solar farm, a microgrid, and is close to net zero. And it's a big facility. So it's something we've done before, and we can't wait to do the same and deploy that at NASCAR's assets.
Well, thanks for spending some time with us today, Mike. It was great to see you again. And we look forward to more developments in NASCAR, and seeing this race on the track tomorrow morning.
Very good. Thank you.
On Sunday morning, ABB number 35 made its way to the street course, driven by former NASCAR competitor David Ragan. NBC Sports, local news crews, and a few other media members were on hand to see and hear what it could do.
That's plenty fast.
All right. Chris, next here.
David Ragan just said that the top speed that he hit while he was doing hot laps here for us was 120 miles per hour.
Okay, guys, right here for me. 1, 2, 3, and one more.
Can you speak to your experience? Because obviously you've been in NASCAR for a long time, and this is a little bit different because you have a tri-motor setup. So can you speak to the all-wheel drive and what the feeling is with the difference between these powertrains?
Yeah, well, thank you. And first of all, I feel privileged to be asked by NASCAR and the ABB folks to help make some laps and develop this prototype. I think a lot of hard work and effort went into really perfecting this stock car with 3 electric motors, like you said, a lot of power, a lot of technology that we've really never had before. Yeah, I've been used to driving a rear wheel car and trying to manage tire spin and a lot of my driving senses I hear and feel based on the engine and the sound of the engine noise. And so now to have some different feel, a lot of acceleration when all 4 corners of the race car are accelerating. It accelerates faster than anything I've ever driven before. So I think we've really just scratched the surface on the potential. A few hot laps this morning at the Chicago street course race. It was fun to just do that. Well, we've had some practice on some ovals back in Martinsville, Virginia, and the braking capability with the regen system activated is incredible, but the acceleration is really special.
Do you think there's anything that would change the hearts and minds of NASCAR fans when we talk about introducing electrification in this case?
Yeah, I mean, I think give it a try. I mean, I'm as much of a traditionalist as they come. I'm kind of that old school racer, but man, I love the technology that's behind this car, and I think it allows the driver to really drive harder and get more out of the vehicle, and it also challenges the driver in different ways. And so I think for the race fan, you can still appreciate a really good race I think the drivers will have to learn how to adapt to some of those different senses and feelings that they have inside the race car with no loud engine, burning fuel and burning oil. It's just another challenge. As our world continues to evolve around us, I think the cars that we race on the weekends and certainly the ones that we buy from our local dealerships and that you and I drive to work and drive to the grocery store, that's changing too. So I think first and foremost, you want something that's fast, but also can put on a good show. And I think that, these EV cars can certainly do that. And I've been very privileged to be able to have some fun and make some laps so far.
Well, thank you for spending time with us today, David. Yes, and thanks for putting on a show for us. All right, I'm here with Matthew, who is the EV Grid to Charger Manager at ABB, which is great to grab you because we want to hear more about what your role is in particular, because there is some speculation that the grid can't handle EVs.
Sure. Great to be here. We think about all parts of the electric mobility transition. And so if it used to be chicken and the egg, right? Not enough cars, not enough chargers. We unpacked that, we unrolled it, and we realized there's the power grid. There is the equipment and grid edge at a site, and then there's the charger, and then there's the vehicle. And it's a linear issue, which means we can solve it. So we think about all parts of that, all of our customers, from utilities to industrials to charge point operators to people who buy chargers and all the equipment and all the owners. And we think about what's going to work for them and how do we use our experience as a technology leader to really make that whole chain the best it can be, the most efficient it can be. So beyond the charger, behind the charger, there's a lot of technology, a lot of features that people want. And so how does that really matter for the power grid is, well, you've got to be able to distribute the electricity right. You got to be able to distribute it to the right places. But also, how much do you need? What if you could optimize that? What if you could make it so you don't have as much need as maybe you think, right? So use technology like load management to keep a site underneath a certain threshold. That keeps everybody charging and happy, but it makes the charging operators even more happy because their time to get a electrical connection is lower and less money.
Now, we've seen in the news that the national electric vehicle infrastructure that's getting installed has been a little controversial because only under a dozen stations have been put in the ground so far. And we know it's a process, but do you have any insight on that as to why it's taking so long for these EV charging stations to get installed?
No direct insight, of course. Obviously, all the states are moving at different paces. There are a lot of different players involved, lots of paperwork and process, of course. It is a big program. However, the amount of investment coming from the private sector is dwarfing anything coming out of the government sector to a massive factor, like maybe 5 to 8x. So, we are seeing a lot more investment and a lot more installs coming from the private sector. Now, how many installs have been done from the NEVI program? It changes. There's always an announcement every week. We hope to see those speed up, of course.
Are there any constraints as far as you're concerned with the equipment that you provide?
We've seen unprecedented demand for the electrical equipment that powers EV charging sites and all types of sites across the U.S. as the electrification of all types has picked up. We are working very hard to speed this up. So one example that I can share is we have given a lot of time and effort to a new product that is an EV grid to charger switchboard that is designed to be half the lead time, and it is specific for EV charging installations. And so we allow that to be ordered by a catalog number. And people are finding that is a very fast way to get some equipment they need.
Interesting. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
I'm with Riley, who is in charge of sustainability at NASCAR. That's a pretty big role here.
Yeah, so yesterday we announced ABB as our first official NASCAR Impact partner, which is a huge moment for our sport and NASCAR Impact as a whole. When we launched Impact last year, we also committed as a company to achieve net zero operating emissions by 2035. So that's really decarbonizing all of our racetracks and facilities. And electrification is a huge part of that story and part of that strategy. So bringing a global leader like ABB on board helps us move the needle within the electrification space at our facilities and our tracks. And the prototype that you see on track today is just one example of how that technology is changing and how we're bringing it, making it more accessible and bringing it to our sport. And another part of ABB that we're really excited about is they'll be helping us bring EV chargers to track, which will be both fan-facing and also used for fleet vehicles. So again, really important contextually to have a major global leader in electrification as part of the NASCAR family.
Oh, absolutely. And we know we have seen in other motorsports series where they have made strides in other realms of maybe the logistics side of things. So are there other areas where you see playing a part in the sustainability message or ways you can achieve that?
Yeah, definitely on the EV charging space. So when we launched Impact, we set the net zero goal. We also set a series of 5-year targets. One was to source 100% renewable electricity by 2028. Another is to begin installing EV charging infrastructure. And really a key part of that is a strategy of ours is to move our Scope 1 emissions to Scope 2, so increase the electricity that we're using at track. But then obviously we need to find a renewable source for that electricity. So it goes hand in hand, and all of these pieces, these building blocks of the strategy need to happen at the same time. And so that's why having the EV chargers in the ground as soon as possible as we continue to evolve our renewable energy strategy, it's essential as we begin this journey.
When I think of NASCAR, I usually think of oval racing, but to see street circuits is really exciting. Is it a challenge when you're coming into different cities to be able to implement your sustainability objectives?
Yeah, I think it really means working and collaborating with the people on the ground and working with the city itself. Beyond just sustainability at NASCAR Impact, we've had a lot of community events here, community initiatives. We unveiled a STEM program, a curriculum for all 8th grade students in the Chicago public school system. And so all of that falls under NASCAR Impact and is really important to the core of our sport of when we're going into new markets, when we're going to existing markets, making sure that we're working with people that live there and that we're positively impacting the communities where we're working and where we're racing.
And you said youth, so that's kind of an important aspect of it. Do you think that the younger generation is going to want to see a series that might have electrification involved?
I'm not sure about series, but definitely sustainability. There's been a lot of research around how Gen Z fans perceive what we're doing in this space, and we know where we need to be, and we're at the beginning stages of this journey, but it's important that we make a very thoughtful and material effort towards decarbonizing our sport.
Well, thank you, Riley. It was a treat to learn a little bit more about your goals, and hopefully we start to see more and more involvement with continued progress on that front. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, this has been a treat coming to Chicago and experiencing a race with NASCAR, but not only that, seeing the hot laps of the ABB number 35 all-electric EV prototype. And what's interesting is what we've heard from not only the NASCAR engineers, but also people with ABB and how they're making this work, and electrification in general and how it's going to impact NASCAR. Now, that thing ripped and it was exciting to see. And not only that, it did make, I thought, a very exciting noise. But what are your thoughts on it? Do you think that there will be an electric series available in NASCAR in the future? Thank you so much for watching this video. And until next time, drive, fly, ride. Go electric.